One of the biggest complaints that I hear about when people first start playing Satisfactory is that they see all these cool coal power plants and other power sources that you get on later in the game, and they feel like it takes too long to reach them because you are stuck in the biofuel stage for so long. So I decided, what if we just stayed in there forever? I mean, if you look around, there's so much foliage that you can take advantage of. What if we just only used biofuel for the whole game? Surely this will be fun and it won't lead to any regrets that I'll have later on down the line. I got this idea from a YouTube comment that I got forever ago. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the comment. I did try to scruff through the YouTube comments that I got and find it, but I could not find it, unfortunately. But whoever did comment it, huge shout out to you because you're the entire reason I'm doing this right now. And I haven't come close, I don't think, to running out of Satisfactory ideas yet before I have to move on to a different factory game. But whenever you guys do leave comments and give me ideas, it really does help. So big thanks to whoever did comment this idea. With that being said, though, let's quickly get into the rules. I mean, they're pretty simple, as I'm sure you can imagine, but I do think it's still a good idea to establish them at the very beginning. That way, I don't get comments either saying that I didn't talk about the rules or that my run is completely invalidated because I broke one obscure rule that I may have mentioned at some point, which is on me. But with that out of the way, the rules are you can only use biofuel. So obviously, we're going to have to unlock the technologies for coal power and everything else later on down the line, but I'm not allowed to use anything that generates power unless it is being fueled by biofuel. This does include liquid biofuel later on down the line, because without that, I seriously don't think this run would even be reasonable. And I will be allowing myself to summer sloop and duplicate biofuel in order to create more of it. And I'm also going to be allowing myself to use the power augmenter later on because that's not really burning anything that isn't biofuel to make power. It's just getting more power out of what you already do have. And also, I feel like it goes without saying that a lot of handcrafting biofuel went into this run, at least at the very beginning. I'm also going to say right now that I'm going to kind of be speeding through the beginning of the game. One, because you guys have seen me play the beginning of Satisfactory quite a few times by now. And also, the beginning of this run, believe it or not, is pretty much just a normal Satisfactory game because you start with biofuel by default, and then you're supposed to eventually change into the other types of fuel. But before you get to that point, it's basically just normal Satisfactory. So I just went around and set up some basic production lines, and I'm going to speed quite a bit. Honestly, it'll probably take until like tier 2, tier 3-ish before the game actually starts to get interesting and isn't just a normal game of Satisfactory. So while I am just kind of rushing through the early game and showing you guys some basic footage, especially like the space elevator building in the background, I kind of want to discuss the elephant in the room. One, I'm back making YouTube videos and I don't plan on going anywhere. Two, yeah, I did disappear for like a month, a little over a month, and that's totally my bad. Nothing like major, like life-altering event happened or anything terrible like that. I didn't like get in a car accident and break all my ribs or anything insane. But I kind of got a little in over my head when it came to things. I thought that I could manage doing YouTube and a bunch of side projects that I was working on. Mostly game development is what I've been working on in the background, which is something I still want to continue working on in the background. However, I want to put YouTube first, and I want to keep putting content out for you guys first, and then just in my free time probably learn some more coding and game development skills. And then I will eventually probably either make a separate Patreon or something else for, like, probably just a second channel in general, to be honest, for all of my game development content that I plan to make in the future. I don't want to officially announce anything yet because nothing is even close to like being ready to show off. But that is why I disappeared. And then also, I have been working pretty much all week to try to come back to YouTube and get this video out. However, I don't know what happened while I was gone, but when I left, Premiere Pro was working perfectly fine, and I had some minor issues, like it would occasionally corrupt files, or I would have to, restart a project. But it was nothing that really drove me away from it. I just thought it was like minor stuff that I dealt with, and it really wasn't that big a deal. However, when I came back and tried to, because I already had this run recorded, I just needed to edit it. So when I came back and tried to edit this video, oh my god, I don't know what happened, but I could not use Premiere. It was completely unusable. I would get maybe 2 or 3 minutes into editing and the entire project would crash. I went online and tried to find any solution to this. I updated all my drivers. I uninstalled and reinstalled Premiere Pro, and nothing worked. It was just a completely unusable software. And so now I'm editing in DaVinci, and I mean, I'm pretty upset, to be honest, about all the time that I lost. I even thought that maybe it was because I was using old gameplay files, so I went through and just used OBS to re-record all of the files from my game, which, as I'm sure you can imagine, took multiple days. That didn't work either, so I'm now using DaVinci, and can I just say it's 1,000 times better. I am getting a little bit more used to it, so if my editing comes off as slightly different, that's why. Um, but yeah, that's where I've been. This is where we're at now. Phase 1 is complete, moving on to Phase 2, and I promise that I am here to stay and that I will continue uploading on a far more regular basis than once a month. But with all that out of the way, let's talk about the actual run that we're going to be doing today. Pretty much every Satisfactory run that I have uploaded to YouTube so far, in fact I think every single one, has kind of been like a giant mega factory design, which if you know me, I like quite a bit. I think they're fun to build, I think they're cool to look at, and I just generally enjoy them. However, I decided with this run, there's really no limit on what I can build, just that it has to run off of BioFuel. And the reason that the other factories were mega factories is because there were seriously heavy restrictions on how I could actually build things. So with this run, I decided to take the opportunity to try and build a more modular factory, which is something that I've never really done in Satisfactory, and kind of to say, I think it worked out pretty well. Also, as you can see, we just finally got the chainsaw 6 minutes into this video, and oh my god, the chainsaw noise is something that I will have ingrained in my mind forever after this run. Currently, I'm obviously like working on phase 3 for this, and the amount of time that I have spent just running around the forest and decimating wildlife trying to feed the ever consumptuous void that is my factory for leaves and random pieces of wood is ridiculous. I've heard that noise probably thousands of times. But tis being a YouTuber, it's what I do for you guys, and I just hope that you guys enjoy the content. Also, the little bit of B-roll that you saw just now of me flying around in camera mode and just kind of like trying to scope out everything was me looking for a spot to build a reinforced plate factory. With me playing the game in a more modular way this time, I kind of just need a factory that only makes reinforced plates, and a lot of them. That way I can ship them throughout the map whenever I need them, and I won't have to rebuild a reinforced plate factory every time I need them. It's something I've never really done, but like I said, I'm trying it out in this playthrough. And honestly, the more that you guys watch me play Satisfactory, it's kind of just me learning. Got about 500 hours so far, and every time I make one of these videos, I've learned something new about the game, like Smart Splitters in the Sushi series. So this is just one of those things that I'm trying out to see if I like it, and so far I have. But while I was scouting out, I found this little area that I'm going to use to make reinforced plates, and obviously what you're watching now is me setting up that factory. I did have to use a couple power shards here because I mathed incorrectly, which I know is unbelievable, but I did mess it up a little bit and I had to use some power shards, but regardless, it works pretty well, and now I can ship reinforced plates anywhere I want in the entire map. Also, I didn't actually catch it on camera, but the factory that I just built did end up crashing the power grid, which is unbelievable if you think about the fact that it's just running off leaves. I mean, I thought they were going to sustain us forever, which unfortunately they are, but because of that, I needed to build like an actual little power plant, and originally I was just gonna keep spamming down the generators like randomly throughout the field, that way I could just keep progressing on, but I decided better to just make a giant one now, that way I don't have to later. And I figured it would be kind of cool if it was like this altar that's just kind of hovering and looming over our base. And this is the design that I came up with. It will probably have to be expanded in the future. I want to just keep on making it into a longer and longer line, but I'm aware that if I keep doing that, then eventually it's going to get so long that using this design won't work anymore. So maybe I'll stack it, or have multiple inputs, or just, I don't know, come up with a better design. But that's what I had so far, and I think it looks pretty cool. It's what I used in the thumbnail. And now we're making a rotor factory, because once again, I'm going to need a lot of them, especially if we start automating automated plates, or smart plates. And this is the little area that I used to make rotors. As you can see, it makes a decent amount, and I'm just going to kind of stockpile them here like I do with smart plates and ship them wherever in the world that I need them, whenever I do need them. Currently we don't have anything to ship anything, and it's going to be kind of expensive considering that we're using biofuel, But this is me shipping the rotors and the smart plates, not smart plates, reinforced plates. You can just kind of see me shipping them, and where they're headed is a giant factory to make the 1000 smart plates that we're going to need in order to complete phase 2. I really didn't do anything too special for the smart plate factory. It's just a bunch of assemblers that I planted down in the middle of a field in order to, make the smart plates and then ship them directly into the space elevator. But unfortunately, even though I did make the giant setup, it did crash the power grid once again. So I had to come up here and expand this line. It's early enough on in the run that I can still get away with the design of just kind of making the line longer. But there are two problems with that. One, conveyor belt setups like this, just because of how the maths out, if you keep going, the end is eventually going to be so short, not so short. They're going to be receiving so many few things of fuel that it's just not going to run properly. Which this has been working so far, and actually now that I'm thinking about it, the line would work if I just had better and better conveyor belts, which hopefully we will have. But what I'm saying is it can only be so long, and I will eventually have to change the design. The other problem that I have with just making it into a giant line is if you look, there is a mountain right there, which is going to be a slight problem when it comes to just continuing this really straight, awesome looking line. So I'll either have to move it to a different location or make an entirely different design, which I think would be kind of fun to brainstorm. But with that being said, we've made all 1000 smart plates, and we can now start working on the modular frames. Not modular frames. They're the steel ones. I forget what they're called. You guys know what I meant. But for all the ball knowledge havers out there, you know that with the starting area, there's really only one spot that I could have put the modular frame factory, and that's right here because it's the last spot that has a decent amount of iron. So, of course, this is where I chose. This is the little setup that I made. I just, like you can see, am shipping the reinforced plates from the other factory directly into here, and then just making the iron rods and smelting all of the iron on site, combining it, and of course, getting modular frames. And then I can just combine the modular frames with some steel that I'm going to have to set up later in order to get the versatile frame network or whatever they're called. And then that'll be those done. But this actually works pretty well, and it made way more modular frames than I thought it would. Also, I thought it would be fun to show off what the little power plant looks like fully filled up and saturated. And I think it looks really crazy. I think this is one of the cooler looking things that I've made in a Satisfactory video, and I'm honestly really proud of it. You can see I just unlocked coal power, which is kind of painful because now we could use coal power, except we're just not allowed to because of the evil self-enforced rules that I have. I think it's kind of funny that you would think not using coal power would lead to I don't know, something better for the environment, but instead we're just kind of harming it directly. We're just going straight to the source and just physically cutting down the trees. But just like SpaceX, I figured the next thing to do to help with the environment was to launch a rocket into it. And why not go along with those rides, see how some of the SpaceX engineers and astronauts actually feel on those rides. I actually messed up the jump a little bit. I meant to land on the top, but I still thought it would be fun to just kind of fling myself into the stratosphere. And of course, it wouldn't be one of my videos if I wasn't hating on Elon Musk, at least a little bit. One day, maybe we'll get him to respond, that'd be really funny, but I doubt it. Anyways, with my imminent demise coming a lot quicker than I thought it would, obviously we've got to set up some steel. And once again, if you guys know the Satisfactory map, there was really only one spot that I could have set up steel this early, and it's down by this giant pond, which is normally a great place to make a normal coal power plant if you guys are new to the game. It's pretty close to the starting area. I'm sure you can find it. I'm not going to mark it on the map right now or anything. But there's a giant lake here, and it's got a lot of coal, and then also up on the ridgeline, and I think somewhere down here. You can find iron too. So, I mean, it is a good spot for a steel plant. It's just better if you make a power plant here. I think that's kind of what is intended. But of course, this isn't really the intended way to play the game. So we can just make steel here instead, and that's still going to satisfy what we need to do. It really didn't take that long to set this up, if I'm being completely honest. I thought it would take a lot longer, considering I did have to build a ramp all the way up to the edge. I actually didn't have to, because now that I'm looking at it, there's literally a ramp, that's pre-made into the map that I could have just ran a conveyor belt up. But why would I do that when I can make it hard on myself? Now, I did break my rule of not, embracing the spaghetti too much in this, because there's quite a bit. but it did lead to us unlocking advanced steel production, and I'll be honest, I had been grinding out a lot of BioFuel for this video up until this point, and I may or may not have gotten a little bit lazy with it, so please forgive me for that. But that does mean that we can make the parts. I'm also starting to make the automated wiring here, even though I don't have it unlocked yet, I don't think, at this point. I just set it up prematurely, that way I would have it ready when it needs to. This is me shipping the steel over to the Modular frame factory so that we can make those versatile frame networks. I'm pretty sure that's what they're called, I'm just going to keep calling them that, and you guys know what I mean. But after those are all being made, which you can see I made quite a few of them, the only thing left to be made is the automated wiring, and as I said, I already had that set up previously, so it's really not going to be that hard. Stators are pretty easy to make, and as you can see, I had kind of just been stockpiling them this whole time that I was waiting for the frameworks to get done. I did make a little oopsie there and completely forgot that you actually need 2 constructors to make wire, because obviously you have to make it into the copper and then you make the copper into the wire. I don't know why that got past me, but I just completely forgot. But I did end up completing I completed everything, all the parts for phase 2, and you can see that I'm finally shipping them off. And with that, that's going to be the end of this video. Like I said, I do intend on finishing this series as well as all of the other ones. I have, believe it or not, still been working on the sushi video in the background. Phase 4 is just incredibly long, and like I said, I got sidetracked with a lot of other things. But that video will probably be one of the next ones to come out. I might make part 2 of this, or maybe the tower first, but that will be coming out soon. And as we watch all of the part 2 parts get shipped away, I just wanted to say, 1, thank you to everyone that did stick around. I think I lost like maybe 5 subscribers in the entire time that I was gone, so it is nice to see that you all did not completely abandon me. And second of all, thank you to all of my Patreons that have been supporting me the entire time that I was gone too. I really do appreciate you guys so much, and I really wouldn't be able to do it without you. So, with that being said, that's it for me. I hope you all have a great day. I promise not to disappear again, at least within my control. If I like die or something, obviously I can't control that, but I'll do my best not to die, and I hope you all enjoyed the video. Goodbye, and I'll see you next time.